Like I said, I would catch up, and I did really fast because I am not taking the opportunity to get behind again. So, how does this episode continue off from Okarun being, well, possessed and nearly killing Ayase, as we're seeing here? Well, the episode decides to start off in a completely different way, and by showing us a specific character, a grandma of Ayase. And yeah, she's doing magic, and apparently she got all of her stuff wrong. Look, I feel like she is just being screwed by this other person. Like, she is saying these things and they're right, but people sometimes won't admit when it's right. So I am not surprised that they think that she's just kind of crazy. And it all kind of stems back to episode 1, where it feels like her Ayase, her granddaughter's like words of her not believing, well, her stuff has had a domino effect on her. But backtracking onto the main point, she fights Granny, the hag Granny. Don't know why I said it like that, but I'm keeping it. So yeah, using some cool abilities, she shows that she is not to be messed with. And it is pretty fucking cool how, despite being completely outblitzed by this hag, she was able to create a circle long before she made her presence known, and it allowed her to essentially be a barrier to protect her from getting killed. And then she made a barrier around this one, so that way the hag can't just start running around. And yeah, she keeps making another barrier, essentially forcing her into a position where she's gonna die, though it's a double-edged sword because this will kill Okarun. And yeah, I mean, the granny, whenever Ayase comes back into consciousness and is all worried for Okarun's like life, like, she makes it seem like she killed Okarun, then decided to just take out the granny and Okarun. But I mean, let's be real, Granny has some level of decency in terms of not killing kids per se, but she does have a little bit of, there's a little bit of conflict between the two. Ayase apologizes, and that sort of seems to start into a specific direction before she just tells that Okarun's out, like, in one of the little areas. It has like a barrier of sorts that keeps the curse from activating. Ayase goes and checks on him, and then she kind of closes the door on him. Like, she was worried. She genuinely thought her friend died. And it's just funny that he kind of is, they're both happy to see each other, but she kind of closes the door on him, and it kind of just causes shenanigans. Now, we get some lore about this Turbo Granny, as they're mentioning it, that it seems like she, the granny, was attempting to take care of Turbo Granny, only for her to find out that Turbo Granny and a spirit had essentially fused into an abomination of sorts. Like, look at this thing. It looks terrible. Design-wise, they really nailed it, but it looks horrifying as fuck. Anyway, so Granny tells her granddaughter, and obviously showing caring, that, hey, don't go looking for this thing. You are most likely going to die, and I'd rather not lose you to that. And unfortunately for her, Ayase's mind is sort of like, what does Ken Takakura would do? He would go and try to help, well, Okarun, because that's the right thing to do. And funnily enough, Granny did learn about Okarun's real name being Ken Takakura, so obviously teasing her granddaughter, essentially saying, oh, so you love this kid, and it just turns into funny shenanigans, because guess what happens when you have the same name as someone else? It turns into funny shenanigans. But yeah, essentially once he's in the conversation, the whole point now is that if they want to get back the boy's banana, so he's no longer cursed, they need to do two things. One, Granny learns before all the shenanigans that Ayase had unlocked more or less her psyche abilities, but because when we saw it unlocked in episode 1, that's her true form. What we're seeing now is essentially level 1. So if the true form is level 100, she needs to build up from her level 1 to level 100. So, pretty cool. Gives us an insight of what her true potential is, considering she can do almost anything. Or I guess anything in that matter, but that's one. Number 2, Okarun needs to get faster. He needs to be able to outrun Granny, because the goal is going to be forcing Turbo Granny out of the territory that her and that spirit had essentially created together. And essentially by doing that, they are able to defeat her because she'll be weaker because she's out of the territory. According to what our Gilf is saying, yes, we will go with Gilf because I don't know why the hell they decide to go that hard with her. But what our Gilf here is saying is that territories essentially give powers to people, from what I'm getting. Her thing is she can't put barriers in wherever she wants because she's borrowing the power from the territory, the god of the territory they're currently in. So essentially there are specific limits with what they can do in terms of whose territory they're in, which I guess makes sense because I mean otherwise they could be busted if they could just do whatever the hell they want at any point. So, limitations aren't bad per se, but it does raise the stakes. So Granny can't really help. She wouldn't have any powers to be able to even help against Turbo Granny, and it'd just be a liability. And most likely she'd get killed after the shenanigans she did at the very beginning of the episode. So, makes sense. So we get more fun, interactions between Okarun and Ayase, a genuine conversation between the two, and funny banter, because it just so happens that these two will, once they have a good conversation with the two, it is bound to have some kind of argument as well. So I am not complaining. It is honestly fun. We get to learn a little more on Ayase's abilities and backtracking on how back in UFO, she was at her most peak and kind of showing that she needs to reach that point now, going through training. Okarun just, obviously, he wants to do his business. And since he kind of needs the restroom, he's going to forcefully go into their restroom in their place. And it is just a funny sequence of running. And obviously when Ken Takakura's name is mentioned, Ayase kind of just gets distracted and it's funny. But this whole thing, once he's in the restroom doing his business, she's there because she has to keep an eye on him so her powers can work. And Granny, speaks with them. Obviously, Turbo Granny comes into play, stops the world, I guess, Dio style, and basically makes a threat and says, hey, I'm not letting you do whatever y'all are gonna do, so I can curse y'all through this kid. So now, you'll play by my rules. Come tonight or y'all are cursed. And then once this whole Dio world-esque kind of goes away and everything goes back to normal, poor Okarun has a nosebleed, but fucking hell, Granny has her ears bleeding. So yeah, this threat is legitimate. So obviously Ayase informs them, and yeah, they have to go to the tunnel now because Turbo Granny's not giving them any other option. And just before they leave, we get to see the grandmother actually worried for her granddaughter once again. She doesn't want her to die. And this was a nice moment. This is a genuinely wholesome moment. Before they go in funny attires that are supposed to protect them from evil spirits, and obviously Ayase is not exactly vibing with it, so she kind of just takes it off, and yeah, they're gonna go. One with who's cursed goes, well, with protection, and the other one, because she doesn't want to, is going to probably have some trouble once they face Turbo Granny. But I'm kind of excited for this. I'm excited to see, their development has been good for 3 episodes, so I'm kind of curious how they're going to defeat Turbo Granny. So I guess this whole arc is the Turbo Granny arc about to come to a close, question mark? I don't know. I'm excited to see how they outwit her, because it seems like they just need to get her out of the territory or find a way to trick her to get out, because I don't think they're going to be able to beat her through speed. I think it's going to take a lot more than that, but as I said, I'm excited. 10 out of 10. I'm genuinely just having fun with these episodes. They're just entertainment for me as well as enjoyment.